We all know The Witcher 3 is critically acclaimed and commercially successful. It is beloved by its fans and respected by gaming communities around the world. It has been declared more times than I can personally count a masterpiece of our generation. You can sink hundreds of hours into multiple playthroughs and still not see everything the game has to offer. Such a game is no small feat, and the beloved nature of both this game and the company who made it, CD Projekt Red, is the reason the gaming community is collectively on the edge of their seat, waiting to see what Cyberpunk 2077 brings after such an accomplishment. So why did I have so much trouble enjoying it? What was the breaking point, and how did I find myself here, finally able to dig in? Before you go and yell at me, know that I wanted more than anything to enjoy this game. I watched my friends praise this game to the high heavens and found enjoyment in a way I so badly wanted to. So I recently made a list of approximately 30 games I wanted to play through to completion, but that I had just passed over or never got to finishing. These were the games that defined their genres, revolutionized what player experience meant at the time of release, or were just damn good games that showcase what gaming could be. Games like Resident Evil 4, BioShock, Doom, Fear, Fallout New Vegas. I think you get the idea. Well, that's just dandy, Mike. Why bring this up in a video about The Witcher? Well, on that same list, right near the bottom, is The Witcher 3. This is a game I had never finished, but had sunk more hours into than it would take to complete some of those other games in their entirety. I think I had started up something like 5 different playthroughs, desperately trying to find some piece of the game that really resonated with me, and each time I found myself playing something else. Obviously not to completion either. As a matter of fact, I can only think of a handful of games at this moment that I have even completed the main story of in my life, and only 2 since I've attempted to play The Witcher. That is, until I watched a video by one of my favorite content creators, Racevic. He outlined a video talking about modding S.T.A.L.K.E.R. His experience mirrored my own, except he had broken through. So I fired up a newly modified S.T.A.L.K.E.R. and started playing about 10 AM. No story, no mission or markers, just a world ripe for exploration and discovery. Things I had never really appreciated in games. Things that were just a backdrop for the story and gameplay. And holy shit. The whole day disappeared. And then that night. And then the next day. No missions, no waypoints, no save the world or else. Just a living, breathing world dripping with atmospheric danger. I remember the sirens of my first radiation storms as if I was there in the flesh. I remember that feeling of dread when I heard the low growl of some unknown creature, only to realize I had run out of ammo in my last fight with a patrol from nearby base as this behemoth charged forward. I remember basking in the safety of a small town, only to realize that the large group of soldiers walking our way were aligned with the faction who took and did as they pleased. And the real sadness and fear I felt as I ran away from my former comrades as they were butchered by their superior equipment, only to find the nearest safe area was on the other side of enemy-occupied space. And not one bit of it was part of a story. Not a single thing in that world needed me, as it was going to exist regardless of my actions. So why am I talking about this? Well, there was a moment super early on in my most recent playthrough of The Witcher where I caught a glimpse of the same sort of incredible atmosphere that I just praised S.T.A.L.K.E.R. for having. The world feels like it exists in a similar vein to how S.T.A.L.K.E.R.'s world feels like you're merely a visitor. The moment I felt this the most was once I was done speaking with the guard captain who gives you the quest to go kill the griffin. I got done with the conversation and it had just begun raining. The atmosphere was palpable and I was immediately sucked into the game unlike any other time I played it. The world accounted for their presence. They weren't just NPCs who disappeared. They appeared to be part of the world they inhabited. All of a sudden, I was looking around for anyone I could talk to. I was going through every extra dialogue option just to learn a little bit more about the people who inhabited this incredible world. The 2 quests I ran across in previous playthroughs became way more interesting. The intrigue of the old lady's suit-covered pan, and the devout healer who fell in love with a man and was kicked out of her home, only to wind up in the middle of nowhere helping people, were so much more than just quick fetch quests and tutorials. They were people who had problems, and you just happened by to help. Yeah, I call them people. If a character in a book can exist, then why can't these guys? My second big moment came when I went to talk to the hunter, who the guard captain had said found the bodies of the soldiers ravaged by the griffin. I spoke with him a little bit, proceeded to go through the other options to maybe find out a bit more about him. I was absolutely blindsided by what was there. The hunter begins to talk about what happened when pushed and refers to himself as a freak. The dialogue goes into Geralt talking about how he too is a freak. The hunter dismisses this initially until Geralt talks about knowing how to deal with lycanthropy. The hunter stops him and drops that he was in love with the Lord's son and was caught with him. He was banished from the castle and his lover hung himself. That is why he lived in this village. I sat there slack-jawed. I had done so much of a disservice to myself by simply gamifying the conversation in prior playthroughs. Talk to this quest NPC, jump through the dialogue, get to the next objective and move on. I never even gave a moment's thought to what a hunter who had made somewhat of a name for himself with the locals might be doing there. To me, he was just an NPC and only put there to further the plot, which would inevitably lead me forward to the real story. At this point, I began to really look around me and think after that. What else had I looked over? What else had I dismissed as existing because it's just a game? I began to see small details that alluded to the NPCs around me being so much more than that. They existed in this world, and I was just a visitor passing through while looking for Yennefer. So with this newfound desire to really embrace the world as it is instead of gamifying it, I found myself wanting to take on Witcher contracts to help the people who were struggling. I came across a man and his daughter, and he offered me a contract I had done in previous playthroughs, the Demon at the Well quest. Even despite the other things I encountered so far, I was a bit sure that this one wouldn't have much of a fleshed out story, and was mostly just a way to teach you how to approach the Witcher contracts. Find out what the thing that needs deading, research it, learn how to make it dead, and then commence with the deadening. Makes sense, right? So here I am, searching the camp, just being the kleptomaniac I always am in these sort of games, when I stumble upon a quest item. Normally, I'd just close them out, knowing that the game assumes I read it and will now give me the new quest objective in spewed narrative form. This time, however, I actually read it. And once more, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor as I began to realize that this isn't just some contract. The book details how the Lord had lost his marbles and was absolutely insane. Not too far off what one might expect of a power-hungry... Wait. They say he's calmed down since his son died? Wait, the Lord's son? The same son who was in love with the hunter? Oh my god, I was blown away. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't spouted to you by some random NPC to make you care about it. It was told in a way that alludes to what is happening in the world around you. It didn't give names, and it didn't try to make sure you saw it. It was told in a completely subtle way that you could have entirely missed if you weren't paying attention, or if you simply didn't care, as I had previously. Even reading this now, I can't believe such small, subtle quests can be wrapped into one another like this. At this point, I'm like, okay, cool. That's it. Quest over. Go turn it in, get reward. There's no way there's more, right? That's when Geralt mentions the names in the journal to the guy who issued the contract. He doesn't seem to know, but he points me towards the healer I mentioned earlier. Holy crap, I'm so invested in this minor story at this point, and I'll be damned if I don't stop by and see what the herbalist has to say. Then this happens.
Listen, ever heard of a woman named Claire? Lived around here?
Heard of her? A mild way to put it. Claire was a friend. The only person dear to me in all of White Orchard. Until her husband, Volker, quarreled with the lord of the manor. He then gathered the family, moved out into the woods to start a new settlement. The lord and his retinue rode there to convince them to return. They were to be civil. No forcing, no bloodshed. But you saw. Word is Claire said something about the lord's son, Florian. Something that made the lord furious. But who knows the truth?
Florian? It is him! Most games would be so scared to let this sort of thing pass unseen. Most games would have shoved this exposition down your throat, and for me, that's a huge turnoff to being any sort of invested. Even for this, it is only the name that is mentioned to help connect the two happenings. Not only does this show how brutal and uncaring the world can be, it also shows how badly the Red Baron story could devolve into given more time. Now, I have more excitement than I can explain, and I seriously want to help others who are, like me, playing the game the wrong way. The love and passion that went into these quests alone is crazy. Between the story and the atmosphere, I am absolutely invested in this village. I want to help them out in whatever way I can to make their lives better, as they've already been through so much. From a mechanical standpoint, this is incredible. I haven't been this invested in a game's story mode in years, and this is a minor side quest. A tutorial even. I am enraptured by what this game has to offer. I can't believe that playing soccer and being engrossed by the world it offered, with no real writing to speak of, is what it took for me to truly appreciate the handcrafted, lived-in world that CD Projekt Red has created. I can't wait to see what sort of world lies before me, knowing that I missed out on so much. I can't wait to see the locations and people I have seen with new eyes, but mostly with new ears to hear what they have to say. I can't think of a greater disservice to this game than by gamifying the contents and playing like so many other games I have in the past. The story they tell through the world has cemented CD Projekt Red in my eyes as a company to watch and wait with bated breath to see what other incredible things they craft. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to get lost in this incredible world. It's like a good book or a TV show that draws you in, except for I'm part of it in a way I've not felt a very long time with gaming. This game has eluded me for so long, and I'm just happy to be able to truly enjoy it now. Thank you for watching.